Cedar Fair operates 11 substantial coaster parks across North America, ranging from destination parks to local attractions. Now, what if they were seated based on their coaster counts and their lineups went head to head? Here's the Cedar Fair bracket battle, round 1 and part of round 2. Let's go over the bracket to start. The parks have been ranked in order of coaster counts, and the ties are split based on my opinion because it's my channel, so get over it. Cedar Point takes the 1 seed from Canada's Wonderland as both have 17 credits. Kings Island takes the 3 seed from Carowinds as they both have 14 coasters, but Racer's a dueling coaster, so I think it could count as 2. Then you have King's Dominion as the 5, Knott's as the 6, California's Great America is 7th, Valley Fair at 8, Michigan's Adventure at 9, Dorney at 10, and Worlds of Fun at 11. I'm going to leave Gilroy Gardens off as it's not really a true coaster park, it kind of just has 2 small coasters. The 1 through 5 seeds have byes through this first round, and we will see 11 through 6 face off first. For scoring, I will isolate the park's top coasters, usually 2 or 3, and match them up, then leave the supporting coasters as a group for extra points. Now it'll make a little more sense as we move on, so let's just dive into the first matchup. Number 6, Knott's Berry Farm versus number 11, Worlds of Fun. Starting off, we have 10 coasters versus 7, so let's check the head-to-heads. The 3 are going to be the inverts of Silver Bullet and Patriot. The wooden coasters are going to be Ghost Rider versus Prowler, and Accelerator will take on Mamba as the big steel coasters of the parks. Now unfortunately, being behind in coaster count, Worlds of Fun needs some big points here early on in the heads-to-heads, but Accelerator and Ghost Rider are going to blow out their competition, and Silver Bullet is going to get a slight edge over Patriot because of the extra length and extra pair of inversions. Now leaving it at 3-0 going into supporting coasters with a Boomerang, a rough and dated Woody, a Spinner, and a family coaster, Worlds of Fun is in for a quick and rough exit as Knott's dishes out Hang Time, Montezuma's Revenge, Coast Rider, Pony Express, Jaguar, and Sierra Sidewinder. Not only is it the bigger number of coasters, but the theme of quality and quantity continues here as Knott's advance. Number 7, California's Great America versus number 10, Dorney Park. We're going to have Flight Deck against Talon with the lead off, and it's a pacing battle versus length. While Flight Deck looks better foot for foot, nearly 900 extra feet of track leaves Dorney in the lead 1-0. Then we have Steel Force and Gold Striker, the respective big bad coasters of their park. Now while Steel Force has some decent flow to airtime, it's pretty forceless. Now Gold Striker is a top tier GCI and it ties the score at 1 apiece. Finally, we have Hydra and Railblazer, the best inversions in each park, but besides that, they really couldn't be more different of a ride experience, and the RMC single rail is an easy choice over the B&M floorless to make it 2-1. Now with a close game, we go to the supporting coasters. Dorney boasts Possessed, an Intimate Impulse, a Wild Mouse, Thunderhawk, one of the oldest wooden coasters still operating, and Woodstock Express. CGA answers with Patriot, a converted stand-up Grizzly, another Woody, Demon and Arrow Looper with some good theming, and a Wild Mouse, along with a pair of family coasters. Now while I prefer Possessed to pretty much any of the other supporting rides in this group, the trio of Patriot, Grizzly, and Demon outweigh Possessed and Thunderhawk. CGA moves on with a score of 3-1. Number 8, Valley Fair versus number 9, Michigan's Adventure. A pair of ignored parks from the chain features some fun matchups. The top rides are without a doubt Renegade and Shivering Timbers. One is one of the best GCIs versus one of the best CCI wooden coasters around, both providing large amounts of airtime, while Renegade is a more diverse experience. Shivering Timbers is over 2,000 feet longer. That's going to really give it the edge here and a 1-0 lead for Michigan's Adventure. Wild Thing is probably the only other kind of standout coaster at Valley Fair, and the best secondary coaster at Michigan's Adventure might just be their SLC Thunderhawk. I'm not quite sure how rough this is compared to the other ones, but either way, any other secondary coaster you pick, this is a pretty easy point for the Morgan Hyper to tie it at 1-1. Now we're going to move right to the supporting rides. I don't really think another top 3 is really warranted here. There's really not much depth at these parks. Michigan Adventure has an Arrow Corkscrew, Timberwolf, a Wild Mouse, and 2 other family coasters. Valley Fair has an Arrow Corkscrew and Wild Mouse of their own. High Roller is the wooden coaster answer to Timberwolf, and then you have Steel Venom and Excalibur. Now these are 2 of the more unique supporting rides in this little fight here. Now an Intimate Impulse and Arrow hybrid coaster are definitely better than any other Michigan coaster not named Shivering Timbers, so it's a pretty easy point to send Valley Fair moving on. Number 1, Cedar Point versus number 8, Valley Fair. Starting round 2, I'm going to kind of zip through some of the blowouts here and there. Now to be fair, Cedar Point probably has 8 rides or more that could be Valley Fair's number 2 coaster, and probably have at least 4 that could be its number 1. The supporting rides only pile it on. This is a pretty easy 3-0, 4-0 blowout for the 1 seed. Number 2, Canada's Wonderland versus number 7, California's Great America. Railblazer, Gold Striker, and Flight Deck return to fight against the 3 big B&Ms north of the border. Yukon Striker will start it off against Flight Deck, and the massive dive coaster against the undersized invert seems like a David vs. Goliath story. Now, while inverts are typically the more intense model, the 223-foot drop plus more length and more inversions are going to boost Yukon Striker and Wonderland to a 1-0 lead. Gold Striker will then take on Behemoth. It's a very different ride experience, but both are focused around airtime moments, I'd say. Behemoth is a highly rated B&M hyper, and between the longer length trains and the 230-foot height, the airtime is abundant throughout. But that being said, Gold Striker is simply a bit more of an elite ride. While I love myself a B&M hyper, GCI, when they get it right, it's just special, and Gold Striker is one of their better coasters. It's a 1-1 tie. Finally, of the big 3, it's going to be the Giga versus the single rail. Railblazer is a short and intense ride. It's about as intense as you can get. It looks sped up when running, and it's an enthusiast's dream. Now, Leviathan is a speed machine that focuses on showcasing some floater moments and a re-rideable experience. It's an extremely close race here, but Railblazer is going to take a slight edge over B&M's first Giga for a 2-1 lead. Finally, the supporting rides. The 4 thrill coasters at CGA remain the same, but 9 thrilling coasters come in from Wonderland, and that's going to be simply too much, even if they aren't the most special of rides. It's going to make it 2-2. Now with the tie, I'm going to use the number 4 coaster of each park to break the tie. It's going to be Grizzly versus Vortex, and I think you can really go with any CGA coaster here, and I think the Arrow Suspended coaster is going to easily slide by, especially with the boring wooden coaster in Grizzly. Canada's Wonderland barely survives the upset 3-2 in round 2. Now, this is going to be the part 1 where it ends, so let's just give a quick summary. This is going to leave number 1 Cedar Point awaiting the winner of number 4 Carowinds versus number 5 King's Dominion, as well as number 2 Canada's Wonderland awaiting the winner of number 3 King's Island versus number 6 Knott's Berry Farm. Those and the semifinals will be included in next week's video, so make sure to subscribe and come back next week. Until then, that's all from the shores of Island Coasters.